John, Anik, and Kenny Florian Podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Next shot. Bang.
You know, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, renowned Hall of Fame radio host, always lets his music bleed a little bit. All of these 1970s and 1980s songs. And one of these days, I'm just going to let that Boston Garden rap take over the airwaves. Kenflo, how are we doing on a Monday morning, kid? What's the good word?
I'm doing okay. My back is pretty messed up. I'm having one of those episodes that I get, which is like quarterly, and I've been in a bed for the last 3 days. So,
man. Yeah. So what do? I'm not asking you to reveal all of your protocol when you're in pain like that, right? But Tylenol only goes so far. Like, what do you do to relieve the pain, and how can you alleviate it?
It does. So usually I just load up on Advil, but I had a buddy who had some muscle relaxers. That's been the thing that helps the most. So on a muscle relaxer, it makes me sleepy. So there's that. And that's kind of how I deal with it. And I just have to be like supine. So I have to be like laying on my back. If I'm standing up or sitting down, it's the worst thing. I tried to find a Swiss ball before the show, but I'm in a chair. Let's see how it goes.
Well, how about this guy battling through it regardless? Hey, Code Blue, is my microphone better? Are we off of the computer? Yeah, we got it back on the beautiful Tascam US 1x2 HR box. We are ready to go. Great to have everybody with us. Hope you enjoyed the weekend. I know Sean Brady did. It is Monday, March 24. The year's 2025. It is episode 543 of the Anik Florian Podcast. Anik Florian Podcast presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. So there were several reasons why we did not come correct with a watch party over the weekend. Among them was because my twin brother Jason got the call to do the Dirty Boxing Championship 1, which was a tremendous thrill for me to be sipping on gin and tonics at the base of the ring there to watch my twin brother do his thing alongside Platinum Mike Perry. So more on that coming up over the course of the next 90 minutes or so. We are also scheduled to be joined by Daniel Cormier in about 40 minutes. Monumental upset on the weekend at the NCAA Wrestling Championship. So we will get into that with DC. Ray Longo in his customary spot about 15 minutes from now. We will also get to the Mexico City card, which beckons this weekend, UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Erceg. I am on my way to altitude and very excited about that. Cain Velasquez, excuse me, is going to be sentenced today, Ken Flo, and I would imagine 99% of our viewership and listenership knows potentially what's at stake here and, what has befallen Cain Velasquez. And I just wanted to sort of say a public prayer live off the top of the show for Cain Velasquez. And I hope as we sit here about 8:20 a.m. Pacific time that things go well for Cain in a courtroom today, because it was a wayward day and moment and decision by him. And I think a move that a lot of us would have pulled if we were faced with those circumstances involving one of our children. So I just wanted to open the show with the shout out to Cain Velasquez. And, I just hope that the judge and the courtroom and the jury and whatever it may be does right by him today.
Yeah, I think well said. When you look at what he did, it definitely was not the right choice, right? But you can understand as a father who is dealing with that with one of his kids, it can be justified. Let's put it that way. What can't be justified, what was done to his son. And I think that I'm hoping that the judge just calls it as time served and he can, be with his family and,
right.
And live in peace.
Right. All right, so Sean Brady had a big weekend. Carlos Ulberg did as well. There's so many angles to unpack on the UFC Fight Night, so let us get into all of it. Not now, but right now. Headlines is brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. And thanks to our friends at Cuervo, my box of merchandise arrived today. Dude, I'm particular about my hats. How about, is that from the new package? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
I'm very particular about my hats, and I'm really enjoying the new Cuervo lid for headlines today. I can assure you they do not compensate the show for us to wear their merchandise. Ken Flo, I think Sean Brady did what a lot of people were expected that he would do. Now, not to suggest that a lot of people thought he'd become the first man to finish Leon Edwards, but this man is a real suffocating problem for not just Leon Edwards, but the rest of this welterweight division. There were a lot of people who believed as much going in. It is Sean Brady by guillotine. It comes at the 139 mark of round 4.
Sean Brady is an absolute wrecking ball, and I think that he took a page out of the blueprint from Belal Muhammad, basically, copy and pasted that. And I think that he did a phenomenal job of utilizing his pressure, his striking, and his takedowns at very precise moments to fluster and frustrate Leon Edwards throughout that fight. And, there wasn't a round where he wasn't in control. And to make matters worse, he's more of a threat on the ground than, say, Belal Muhammad, where, if he does get an arm triangle, if he gets a back take, if he gets a one-handed guillotine choke, he has the experience as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt to be able to finish from there and not allow Leon Edwards to hit one of those comeback shots that he hit against Usman. So I thought it was just very well executed, great game plan. And this is a guy who could potentially win the belt in that weight class for sure.
I actually think it stands to reason in a rematch with Belal Muhammad that he might actually be the betting favorite just based upon this result. And I think based upon recent results, and certainly Belal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena are going to engage. And a little bit later, we will unpack it and open it up as to what the future holds for Sean Brady. But in terms of this fight, I think you're right. He just put it all together. He's clearly ready for prime time. He's not fazed by the stage. And if you followed Sean Brady's story in the lead up, this was a relatively short notice opportunity. I mean, he had time to prepare, but he was not the initial opponent. That was going to be Jack Della Maddalena. He essentially got the call right as his wife was giving birth or shortly thereafter that day. So there were a lot of situations, or I guess circumstances, I should say, that were less than ideal for Sean Brady. All of that is neither here nor there. I think Dean Thomas has been a huge force for him just in terms of opening things up when it comes to his ground strikes. But one thing I want to get into is Leon Edwards in all of this, because yes, I'm fighter first. And yes, I go to great lengths to defend the athletes, but I do think it's a little bit of a tired / lazy take, no pun intended, to just say that Leon Edwards is some sort of quitter. Like, I thought his anti-grappling was pretty good at times. He made some bad decisions in fight. At one point, he sort of chose to grapple or wrestle, and it led to a Sean Brady takedown. But you have guys like Belal Muhammad and Sean Brady publicly coming together, not unlike maybe Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier came together recently calling Michael Chandler a cheater, right? But Belal and Sean sort of are suggestive that Leon Edwards is some sort of quitter. And yes, he showed you maybe he's the tapping type, but can it just be that Sean Brady's really good? And maybe a lot of guys might have gone to sleep, but isn't Sean Brady going to force this fate upon a lot of guys in the top 15? And maybe Leon isn't the quitter that he is maybe perceived to be, or can both things be true?
Yeah, no, I definitely think it can be true that Sean Brady is just that much better in that when locking a submission, it doesn't mean you're a quitter if you tap, right? However, I think that there was a moment where Leon Edwards had kind of given up or was throwing up kind of some uninspired techniques and decision-making during the fight. Whether that's him just being overall frustrated or whether that's him actually like mentally quitting or checking out, I don't know. I don't think that would be fair for me to say. But we've seen it in times before, even in the fight against Usman. And it's tricky because you're like, all right, well, did he mentally give up and throw out a Hail Mary and knock out Usman in that first fight? Or was that him actually being that Rocky type guy and fighting to the very end? I don't know. I think that, Leon Edwards likes to certainly lead the dance. He likes to be the hammer. He's not so comfortable when he's the nail. But then you look at, the rematch against Usman or, the fight before that, where he was able to battle back up, get back to his feet, fight throughout all those things. So I don't think that's the case. I think that for Leon, he's got to figure out, what he needs to do to get better as an overall grappler. And at the same time, allow his volume to come back as a striker.
So we talk a lot on the Anik Florian podcast about this word hunger and championship hunger. And we talk about certainly guys like Belal Muhammad and Merab Dvalishvili, but also the Aaron Blanchfield types, the Ian Machado Gary types that, yes, they cash the checks, but they are just completely obsessed with becoming the undisputed UFC champion. And Leon Edwards has financially changed his life. I don't know what his net worth is based upon beating Usman and then successfully defending the title twice against Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, but depending on how his next fight or two goes, that will be legacy affecting, right? Because at this point in time, people are starting to sort of criticize the legacy, to your point, suggestive that maybe, he pulls the rabbit out of the hat in Salt Lake City, Utah, and his championship title defenses against Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington for one reason or another left a little bit to be desired. I have come to Leon's defense multiple times, but I do believe when it comes to championship hunger and desire, it's not necessarily a silk sheets thing. It can just be a subconscious thing that I'll live to fight another day and, maybe I'll tap out instead of desperately trying to get out of this choke and going to sleep.
Well, it's an interesting thing when an athlete has trained their whole life to do a certain thing. And of course, for any mixed martial artists out there, it's to be a UFC world champion, right? Period. After you do that, what do you do next? For some people, it's like, well, now I got to defend the belt all the time. For some people, that's the end of the line. They've accomplished that. They're happy with that. They have a fat bank account. And I don't know, they don't have anything past that. So it depends on how you're viewing that as a fighter. What the case is for Leon Edwards, I don't know. But it's really tricky, man. You got to find ways as an athlete to constantly stay motivated if you're not. And, I know Brian Petrie and I were talking about his last training sessions, his training camp that was kind of filmed. It didn't seem like he had that fire behind him. Now he's more of a toned down guy. He's very reserved. He's very quiet. Maybe that's the case too. So it's hard to get a read on exactly what it is, John.
And I do wonder the extent to which his career will be celebrated. He almost seems to me at times, as much as I love him and the Shabamata Pod entrance and him as a striker and an improving grappler. I thought he grappled really well defensively at times against Bilal Muhammad, but, he seems like a guy that would almost be reluctant to show up to his own UFC Hall of Fame ceremony. I know he was able to buy his mom that Caribbean takeaway, the Jamaican takeaway restaurant or whatever. And I know he's been able to realize some significant financial freedom, but I do believe that his next fight is going to be absolutely critical in terms of his legacy, because there is a lot of criticism being levied upon Leon Edwards right now. And I do think in a matchup with Ian Machado Gary or some striker matchups, he could shine again. But a lot of people, when this matchup was announced, Kenny, against Sean Brady on short notice, when it was not going to be the striker / grappler Jack Della Maddalena, and it was going to be the, backyard shed, the human brick house, Sean Brady, people were like, man, and I didn't necessarily see it that way. Certainly, I guess you could say I was wrong, but a lot of people were like, man, but Leon was expectant that he was probably going to get this type of fight and just wasn't able to fight through it. I guess the story really should be Sean.
Yeah, listen, it definitely wasn't the best matchup for him. That alone was going to be tough. And now he's got to figure out what he's going to do as a fighter to be able to deal with those kind of guys, the Bilal Muhammads, the Sean Bradys, the grapplers. He had success against Usman, but Usman isn't that submission, real position guy threat. And he's more of a takedown guy, kind of like, jab guy. And I think these newer age fighters are bringing a new wrinkle to the game that's really causing problems for him.
All right, we want to save a lot of the Sean Brady love and conversation for our third man, and let us get to the star of the show. It's the Ray Longo Minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast.
Look at him! Look at the motherfucker! That's what I'm talking.
Ray, if you only knew how excited people got driving around when that stinger came on to know that you were going to come on and save the program. How we doing, Raymond?
It's going to be a rough day to save. Had a long weekend, so I might be under the weather.
Yeah. Are you sick, or did you burn it at all ends? Or
no, kind of burnt it at all ends.
Yeah.
You
have some alcohol this weekend, Ray?
No, just
okay.
It was just traveling all over the place and taking care of what we had to take care of.
Yeah, you get a haircut on the front end of these fights or what?
I should have.
Oh, it looks like you did.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Oh,
My hair's all over the place.
All right. So Congratulations on a big weekend. Do you care to fill us in on how Dylan and Sterling and everybody else did?
Man, what a great weekend. Let me just get to the guys. Dylan Montello knocked it out of the park, got fight of the night. We were up at Foxwoods, LFA. What a great performance. Had a rough first round, but came back and, literally they carried the guy out on a stretcher. I hope that guy's all right. I didn't even check in yet, but what a vicious knockout that was. And we had Austin Halleck choked his guy out in the second round, got a submission win for his first pro fight, which another great kid. Expect big things from him. And Aljo's brother fought. Didn't get the win, but I thought Aljo's brother did. I thought Kelvin did really good. So hats out to everybody. And unfortunately, Levon's opponent, I guess, got injured. I don't know what happened. But the week of the fight, unbelievable. Yeah. Great camp for that kid. Everybody was excited. So I think we would have had a super great night. But even besides, I just feel bad for Levon because he really wants to fight. And it just breaks my heart. But everybody else just killed it. Montello, I couldn't be happier for. I love the guy. Perseverance. I mean, he did take a couple of those. The last fight he took on the Contender Series definitely was banged up, but you don't get those second chances, so you got to go for it, But I would love to see that kid have one fight where he's healthy and ready to go. So, and even this fight, he dealt with some injuries, but by the time of the fight came around, he was feeling good. So hats off to Dylan. I mean, great fight. You got to go look at that fight, John. You'll love it.
I will do just that. I'm off to Mexico City this weekend. I think our listeners would be a little bit curious to know more about Aljamain Sterling's brother, Kelvin. How did that fight go? What type of practitioner is he, and maybe how high the ceiling is?
No, Kelvin's getting older now. I think he fights for the love of fighting.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's not a young kid.
Okay.
And if it was a decision, a really, really good fight. It was a great competitive matchup for both guys, and he just didn't get the nod. But I saw a lot of good things out of Kelvin.
So where were you on Saturday afternoon when Sean Brady was mauling Leon Edwards?
I was trying to watch it on my phone. So
you have seen the bulk of it at this time? Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful fight by Sean Brady. And I thought Leon, like both guys, obviously Sean's an East Coast guy, and he's been working his ass off. He's got a great camp, a great team, teammates, they were just good guys, all of them. And hats off, what a great performance. I thought Leon made a couple of IQ mistakes. I thought in the second round, him going for the takedown was just I don't know. Again, I'm watching this, concentrating on where I got to go in an hour or a half hour or so. But that's my thoughts from what I remember. It's just IQ wise, I just thought, and he looked like he was having success standing up, and then he goes for a takedown, and Sean Brady capitalized, and God bless him, So he was definitely the guy that was mentally on point that night for sure. And
I thought it was unwarranted because it wasn't like he was getting blown out of the water on the feet. Like, that's your strength. That's where you should be. And then the fact that he did it from so far out,
right.
It was easy for Sean Brady to see it coming. And Sean Brady's going to take advantage of things like that. Yeah.
Well, without a doubt. And I guess it meant that he was uncomfortable on his feet.
Right.
But at that point, either that or, I don't know.
Fight in some way, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd have to ask him, but I have no idea what the hell was going on there. But great fight for Sean Brady, man. He's probably should be the number one contender. I think that's big news for those guys down in Philly.
All right, well, let us talk about that a little bit. Anik and Florian Podcast poll question today. What would you like to see them do next with Sean Brady? And we just put this out there. So a short sample size, just 637 votes, but 36% of you would like to see Sean Brady in a championship fight against the winner of Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena. 28% of you voted for Ian Machado Gary, 23.5% for Joaquin Buckley, and then 12.7% for Kamaru Usman. All right. So, Kenny, we have seen the fight between Bilal Muhammad. You can get rid of that graphic. We have seen Bilal Muhammad versus Sean Brady before, right? First career loss for Sean Brady. Certainly we have business to attend to with three-name Jack and Bilal coming up second weekend in May in Montreal. What would you like to see promotionally them do next with Sean Brady?
I think it would be an amazing fight between him and Joaquin Buckley. I think that's a fight that would be really interesting. Two contrasting styles, two guys that are right at the top of their games right now. And I think we get a title contender out of those guys.
Ray, welterweight is on fire right now. Shavkat Rakhmonov, I think, is on the mend. Maybe it was a torn meniscus. I don't know exactly what it was, right? But Jack Della Maddalena and Bilal Muhammad settled their business. Ian Machado Gary is still lurking. Kamaru Usman is still relevant to whatever degree. But I'm with Ken Flo, right? Like, if you can do a title eliminator, right? Maybe even International Fight Week, maybe, I don't know how the calendar would align exactly for the welterweight championship, right? But Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley, that is a true welterweight title eliminator. You could also do Sean Brady against Ian Machado Gary. Which direction are you going, Raymond?
Ooh, I bet either one of those is who's ranked higher, Gary or Buckley?
It's interesting that you are invoking the rankings because my
I'm just
internal
curious.
thought is like, who gives a shit,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I'm just curious.
Joaquin Buckley's number 6 and Ian Machado Gary's number 7, but I don't think that would be a determinant or a factor. I think Joaquin Buckley was considered for Montreal, and Ian Machado Gary, because he does not have long winning streak in tow, was not considered. But Ian came out recently, Kenny, I don't know if you saw, and sort of was like, I know Shavkat and I didn't fight for the interim championship, but why can't Shavkat go against Bilal on May 10th or 11th? It's because it was a hard fight against me, and I was the guy who was worthy of that fight with Shavkat. I know Joaquin Buckley went out and did what he did against Colby, but, we have certainly seen fighters off a loss get a championship opportunity, So, welterweight's on fire. I just think Machado Gary deserves a little bit more credit than he's being given, as always.
Yeah, I mean, all of those names are good. Put it this way, if I had to wait and nothing's going to happen, I would take that Usman fight if I was Sean Brady. I think that would be a good fight for him. But if not, I you know what I mean? Like, if he has to wait, I think that right now that's, a great name and probably.
Yeah, it's a higher profile fight.
Yeah. You could get, you could grab another name, and then I think you're ready to rock and roll for sure. So I'd have to see how it plays out with Madeline. I don't know. They're in a good. Everybody's in a good spot. That's a bunch of great fights to make.
What a great decision by the UFC in retrospect, not putting an interim welterweight championship on the line when Shavkat Rakhmonov fought Ian Machado Gary. Now, you guys both thought it would have been absurd had they done that, and they agreed with you, and they didn't go in that direction, right? But imagine now you have Shavkat as an interim champion, because now all of a sudden it feels like you have 3 number 1 contenders. So it's a good thing Shavkat doesn't have a belt. We'll see what Jack Della Maddalena has to say about all of this, but you have a tremendous foundation for Muhammad v. Brady too. I just don't think Sean Brady, on the strength of this win, would leapfrog Shavkat Rakhmonov. But Ken Flo, I don't have to tell you, the fight game is such that if you're Shavkat, right, like, you're sitting around being like, man, could have done without that Brady win like that.
Right. No, that's the thing. You can lose that spot forever. You never know what's going to happen. But, I think for Shavkat, he just kind of has to wait and see if he gets that next shot. But a lot of things could change very quickly.
Yeah.
Ray, Carlos Ulberg over Jan Blachowicz in the co-main event by unanimous decision. I thought a really clean, disciplined fight by Carlos Ulberg. I thought Jan Blachowicz was admirable in defeat as usual. Pretty cool Squid Game style post on Instagram by Blachowicz suggesting that he is going to fight on despite being 42 years of age. But Ray, what'd you see of the co-main event, and what'd you like?
I mean, for what I was looking at, was just tell me, like, again, I'm looking on my phone, phone calls are coming. I thought it was a lackluster performance. I wasn't excited about that fight at all. The guy's 42 years old. I think you should have been able, if you're going to make a statement, you should have been able to make a statement. But I think that fight was, for what I was looking at, was really, I didn't even know who won the fight at the end of the fight.
Right.
I thought it was, I could see the UFC torturing that guy over that win. Like, they're not impressed. I mean, I don't know. To me, it just looked, I think the fight could have won either way. The other guy was coming forward, a lot of movement from what I remember. And did anybody get hit in that fight more than once or twice? I'm not sure. Was there punches landed, Kenny?
There was a lot of respect, Ray. A lot of respect.
So,
yeah.
But again, I think for one guy being the up and comer and the other guy, already being there and being like maybe a gatekeeper, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
I just wasn't impressed with the fight.
How did Blachowicz not look for more takedowns?
Well,
Like, if you're yeah.
No, it's an interesting point, and maybe I'm the one who needs to watch the fight more closely because maybe I.
I'm prefacing it by I'm up at Fox.
Well, right.
I'm
we're going to get to those.
I don't want to go
to the would you rather's because you don't have to prepare for those. But Kenny, yes, the commentary team asked Blachowicz, Michael Bisping did in the fighter meeting about grappling, and he said, "I don't know," and that was not, I think, what Blachowicz had in his mind strategically as a game plan, but instinctively he did not adjust. He did not go to that world. I don't know. Sometimes I feel though at the highest levels you get respect and you get fights that aren't always tit for tat and throw down on a napkin in the center of the octagon. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to preserve that winning streak.
But for the UFC, they don't want to see guys preserving a winning streak and eking out a win. We know that. We've heard this a million times.
But Alex Pineda beat Jan Blachowicz by split. Like, this was unanimous, right? I mean, that fight maybe was more entertaining, but, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Was that an entertaining fight to you?
Not inordinately, but I'm telling you that Alex Pineda, in his light heavyweight debut in the UFC, fought the former champion Jan Blachowicz. Maybe he was 39 or 40, but still an absolute beast. And that fight went the distance as well. And Pineda lost on one judge's scorecard. So,
listen, you could tell by the way when the decision was announced, if I'm not mistaken, Jan looked a little pissed off. Is that correct or no?
Yeah.
So I'm saying with the takedowns, he wasn't feeling anything standing up. He probably thought he was winning.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to go there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just didn't look like he was ever in any threat of anything. He kept marching forward. They exchanged jabs a couple of times. I don't know.
Well, I think both guys were afraid of getting hit with the kill switch. I think both guys were respecting each other's power way too much. So I think that, it might be a little too generous to say that he wasn't, feeling anything on the side of Olberg. I think he was a little bit. I think he was afraid of getting hit with one of those big shots, and I think the same goes for Olberg. I think he didn't want to get hit with one of those big shots, so it was a lot of like tippy tap from the outside.
Yeah. I'll go with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys see my T-shirt today, by the way?
Let me see.
Joe Lopez,
freestyle fighting gym. Let's go, Joe.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
Look at him in the karate gi. I love it. Hell yeah.
What a great guy.
I'm coach first, as you know. I'm fighter
awesome,
first.
Man.
Yeah, well, I got a Ray Longo T-shirt. I don't have it on today, but I'm going to wear it next show. I'll show
you know what
he's
got under it? 4 champions. So let me ruin the surprise for you. I got to get you a shirt.
No, I'm good.
Oh wow! All right.
No, I'm just kidding. I would love a shirt.
No, you get Ugats now. That's what you get, Ugats.
What's Ugats?
But anyway, shout out to Joe Lopez. Oh yeah, we have meetings.
Yeah, I was trying to shout out Joe Lopez, and then you talked about your 4 champions and getting me a shirt of yours.
Shout out to Joe Lopez, great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
That's great.
So
we got mediums. Kenny couldn't fit into one, so we had to give him a large. But
that's
we
great.
got smalls and mediums for you.
So Kenny didn't smile. I don't know if it's the painkillers kicking in, but until you got into the chat room here on the Anik and Florian podcast, and by the way, thanks to everybody joining us live on YouTube. Until you showed up, this dude was miserable because of his back, but now you're here, and he's having fun. So
love Ken Flo. Wait, first of all, that was one thing you didn't write. I said, but one of the reasons he was doing the seminar because he's the only guy that laughs at my jokes on the podcast. So you didn't write that in, did you?
Yeah.
Well, I had to embellish. Extemporaneous, they call that, John, in the field.
Wow.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, do you set an alarm?
Oh my goodness.
To wake up in the morning?
Normally, yeah, but today I didn't.
Today you did not. Today you were just hoping maybe the yellow orb in the sky would shine through and wake you, or do we have blackout curtains?
No, they're pretty blacked out, but we don't have blackout curtains. But
yeah, so they're not. They either are or they're not. Right. So what woke you up today? What woke you up today?
I just woke up.
Oh, you just woke up. So thank goodness, right? With no alarm.
Oh yeah,
you just made it.
Well, I checked my messages last night to see if there's a podcast. What time's the podcast?
Yeah.
Well, let me think. If there's a word that unprofessional, yeah, because we're always changing the times. I mean, I don't know, Kenny. Well, it's like a guessing game every week. And then if John, he's got to clip his toenails. Then we got to go to Monday. Things didn't go right. It's a whole fucking. I don't know. Can we agree on 11:30? Is that too hard for a?
We had you at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on the fucking screws today. Thanks for being on time.
For a podcast, everybody says should be getting more fucking views. Can we do it at 11:30 every week? Rain or shine.
I don't think that we can necessarily commit to that. Given the global travel schedules, but we will do the best we can. I appreciate you making that.
Oh my goodness!
At this point, Kenny, it's bring on those would I rather questions if they feel.
I'm going to get to them. We still have 14 minutes of your fucking time, and if it were not for a time zone issue, this would be the fucking Joe Lopez minute next week. I replace you. I mean, you're calling us unprofessional. I'm curious, of all these other shows you go on all the time, the level of professionalism that you experience. Please put me in touch with those people so we can foster a more professional setting for you when you make these myriad media appearances. Fucking name.
Wait, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Can you stand up and show me the Joe Lopez show?
Yeah, baby.
There we go. Now I feel better. I actually feel better now.
Oh man,
Master Splinter.
If John ever needs a second career, he's going to be a good lawyer. I'll tell you right now.
My eldest daughter, Riley, wants to be a lawyer. I don't think she understands about the LSATs and law school and all of that stuff. But Ray.
But John, maybe you should tell her this joke. What's brown and looks good on a lawyer?
A suit.
A Rottweiler.
That's good. All right, so Cody.
Shout out to Tony Ricci. That's his joke.
Shout out to Tony Ricci. Good man, that Tony Ricci. Cody, 11:30 a.m. Eastern every Monday. We will effort to have Ray in that slot. But some days we have to go on a Sunday. Some days we go on a Tuesday. It kind of is what it is, but enough about that. All right.
Okay.
I do want to spend 2 minutes on Kevin Holland, Gunnar Nelson, and then we can circle to the would you rathers. Ken Flo, Kevin Holland really needed a win. A lot of high-level mixed martial arts to unpack here. Your thoughts?
Dude, I thought Kevin Holland had a hell of a fight. Talk about being inspired in your performance. Kevin Holland was there to fight. He was there to scrap. He was there to hurt people. And he was there to show that he has more skills than what he has shown in a few of his last fights. And did it against one of the best grapplers in the welterweight division, against Gunnar Nelson. Certainly surprised me, surprised a whole lot of other people, with his defense, with his attacks off from his back as well. And was just nasty on the feet, man. I think Gunnar wasn't really sure of how serious Kevin Holland was taking this fight. I think he stepped in there like it was a match, like it was a competition, and Kevin Holland stepped in there like it was a fight.
And Ray was watching from his phone, so we don't necessarily need to get his thoughts on that. But a win over Gunnar Nelson at any point in time, as far as I'm concerned, is a big deal.
Yeah.
And there's certainly a conversation to be had when it comes to Kevin Holland at middleweight versus welterweight, right? But he is not a guy who stares death in the face to make 71. He does have to sacrifice and change his lifestyle, which he is reluctant to do at times. And he said he could fight a middleweight next week. But it is undeniable that if he really ever is of a championship desire, that he needs to go full throttle commitment to welterweight. And I think he could realize some great success because that frame at 70 is a real problem. Yeah. All right. Would you rather? So Heidi Dean, if you don't know, she is like the UFC matriarch. Operationally, she runs so many different things for the UFC. And she was in London for this event, and she was in her hotel room watching the Anik Florian podcast on the DraftKings YouTube channel, crying at our Would You Rather segment, crying with laughter. So why you got that fucking look on your face, Ray?
What look? I love Heidi Dean. What look is that?
No, you're looking at me.
I'm happy Heidi's getting. I'm happy Heidi's getting a well-deserved shout out, and I'm glad she's laughing at my expense.
Not that we laugh with you. Ray Longo, would you rather be forced, like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, to live the same day over and over again for a full year or take 3 years off the end of your life?
I live the same day every day. I do that already. I'm taking the same day.
Do you have any other podcast appearances later today or later this week? Or
No, that's
Good.
it.
Good.
I'm done. I'm done with podcasting after the show. My loyalty is to this show.
Ray, do you like what?
And Unfiltered and Bruce Buffer's show and all the other ones.
And those.
But what is it? This guy is, dude. But did you have a rough?
He gets jealous. He gets jealous.
I thought the screen was frozen. He could hold that look. I really thought the screen was for. Wait, hold. He's coming back. He's collecting his thoughts. He's adjusting his microphone. Go ahead. Let me have it. What is it?
I love you.
I love you too.
The Minutemen can all fuck right off, but I do love you.
How dare you?
Next week, I have some really interesting Matt Serra stuff to present to you from his formative years. I'm going to send you all the different details on that. That's what they call a tease in the business. For now, though,
wow,
live on the Anik Florian Podcast, would you rather never eat watermelon again or be forced to eat watermelon with every meal for the rest of your life?
Who are you talking to, me or Kenny?
I'm talking to you. I mean, I think you might as well bang a watermelon cube with every meal for the rest of your life.
I'll take the watermelon with every meal.
Ken Flo?
Gosh.
What, do you not like watermelon, Ken?
Yeah, well, I do. I know I do. I'm caught in the middle here. Well, I'll see. Yeah, I'll have a little bit every meal. How's that? Keep hydrated. Yeah.
So if you have never tried lemon juice on watermelon, do yourself a favor. Squeeze a fresh lemon on in-season watermelon, dude. Tastes like lemonade. It's unbelievable. It'll change your life.
I've never tried that.
I ate too much of it, though, and kind of overdid it.
Wow.
All right, Ray Longo Minute here on the Anik Florian Podcast. Would you rather watch nothing but Hallmark Christmas movies or nothing but horror movies? Ray, this is for you.
Oh, it's for me. What was the first one?
Hallmark Christmas movies or horror movies?
I'm a big Christmas guy.
There you go.
I
have no choice. My wife makes me watch them all the time.
Yeah.
So it's
there you go.
Kind of brutal.
She tries to deprogram you like in Clockwork Orange. She makes Kenny sit there. So he becomes a nice guy. Yeah, like that.
Ray, would you rather have universal respect, which I think largely you have,
right,
or unlimited power? Universal respect, which you have experienced a lot of, or unlimited power? Kenny wants the unlimited power. Yes, Kenny?
I'll tell you what,
it would be nice.
I think unlimited power. I think I could handle it too. I wouldn't abuse it. I'm going with the unlimited power.
Yeah,
so I could help people. So I could bring joy to the world with my unlimited power.
You can really
joy to the world. Oh, sorry. I thought it was Christmas. Now you get me with that other question.
No, I was going to get a little bit serious before you started singing, right? But like unlimited power, right? Like all you need to do is to shake fear into your child is just tell them that there are a lot of kids in the world that don't have food to eat every day, right? And if you had unlimited power, I would think the first order of business would be to try to get hungry children across the world food. All right. Would you rather be forced to sing along or dance to every single song you hear? Would you rather be forced to sing along or dance to every single song you hear?
Man, those are both out of my wheelhouse, but I'll take the sing along with every song, just like I'm driving in the car.
There you go. All right, maybe this one will be more in your wheelhouse. Would you rather swim in a pool full of Nutella or a pool full of maple syrup?
Ooh, I'm jumping right into that Nutella pool.
Oh, God.
We got to go with the Nutella, John.
All right, we'll do a few more here with Ray Longo. Would you rather stay inside during a snow day or go outside and build a fort?
Who came up with these questions, really?
Not Men's Health this time. Not Men's Health.
Oh, man. Wait, what is it?
Build the fort, Ray. For Pete's sake, build the fort outside.
That's what we do. We build igloos. We build, imagine when it used to snow, Kenny, we would build igloos, but we don't even get that much snow anymore.
Right.
All right. 3 more. Would you rather, by popular demand with Ray Longo, we still have 5 more minutes. Everybody saw you just look at the fucking clock. What's your next commitment today? What's the problem?
I got to go pick up my dog at the vet.
Okay. All right.
Poor Lucky.
Would you rather have a personal maid or a personal chef?
Ooh.
Personal chef.
Kenny?
Personal maid.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I would definitely have a personal chef. I thought Longo was going to make some joke there. But I clean up pretty good. I do a lot of laundry, a lot of dishes. So I think I'd be okay without the maid. But imagine having a personal chef, right?
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ray, would you rather lose your sight or your memories?
Ooh.
Oh man, I think I'd rather lose my memories. I don't. That's scary. What are you doing now? You're getting morbid. I
have a fun one on the way out.
All right.
I was actually going to skip that one.
Yeah, you
all right, and finally, would you rather vomit on your hero, or I knew I wasn't going to be able to get
this
through
guy this guy's really lost his shit.
No.
I swear to God. You're having too much fun with this.
Do you want to talk about dirty boxing? We can talk about dirty boxing.
Yeah, let's talk about dirty boxing.
Would you rather vomit on your hero or have your hero vomit on you?
Oh, I'm vomiting on my hero any day of the week. And I hate to say this, John, but you are a hero of mine. So this might happen next time.
So I would have the Celtics head coach, Joe Mazzulla, vomit on me.
Wow.
He's my hero. And I know he's younger than me, but he's the guy I look up to the most right now. I just, I would let him fucking puke on me. So,
listen, Kenny, there's clubs you can go to. John.
You get that service.
It's
not a fetish.
They'll throw up on you. They'll take a shit on you. They'll piss on you.
It's not Joe Mazzulla, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, right. It's not Joe Mazzulla, but we could dress a guy up to be Joe Mazzulla if that's what you like. They call it scat play. What the hell?
Do you get dressed up for these things? Do you have a raincoat? What do you wear to these things?
He straps a Glad bag over him. And he goes and meets his hero.
I don't even know what to say. I mean,
Glad bag.
I hope Joe Mazzulla doesn't delete my number after watching the Anik and Florian podcast this week. All right, Ray, we appreciate your time.
Oh man.
All right,
dirty boxing.
Dirty boxing. How'd that go?
So, what a thrill for me to see my twin brother do that, right? He's put in 3 to 4 years trying to get the requisite repetitions, put himself in position to do this. But no, I mean, I think we're going to talk to Jay at some point in time, and Kenny and I think, have to be aligned on this. For me, it's 3 words: bouts of consequence. I would submit to you that maybe dirty boxing has like the best rule set for straight entertainment in combat sports, but you need bouts of consequence. So even though the soldier of God, Yoel Romero, can still get it done at whatever advanced age, he's got to be in there with a guy that sort of piques my interest, right? So eventually they got to get to a place where they are presenting at the end of the night bouts of consequence, that maybe don't involve Andrei Arlovsky against a guy who's 2-7 in MMA, but I thought the show was great. They sold out at Coconut Grove, Florida. John Jones is on board, and I just think as they get more repetitions, the rule set's great. I mean, Ken Flo with the elbows and everything, like it is. Yeah.
Wow. So so it's bare knuckle boxing with the elbow.
It's not bare knuckle. So they have 4-ounce gloves, but you're allowed to throw elbows. Wow. Ground and pound is a thing, but you can't put your knees on the canvas, right? So you have to be upward as you're striking downward. But it's 3 3-minute rounds, so it goes pretty quickly. But, Andrei Arlovsky, say what you want about the individual that he was fighting, but, he was able to land an elbow up the gut that opened up a pre-existing cut, and he did end the fight with an elbow. So, aesthetically, there was a lot there. Mike Breeden, former UFC fighter, who I think was coming off a win in the UFC, but went unsigned, got a big win. And, all these guys are chasing paychecks, and it's nice to see another option for them as well. So
definitely. It's also good to see the athletic commissions come a long way. That's really, they're evolving.
It is. It's a very important point in all of it, right?
What's next? You get to put tacks inside your gloves.
Well,
so
the fact that
you got to move your head faster.
Well, the fact that Power Slap was sanctioned, I mean, it dovetails with exactly what you just said. You're not allowed to move your head.
Right. Yeah, right. Wow.
They sanctioned that.
Unbelievable.
Right?
Unbelievable.
So, yeah.
All right.
All right, Ray. Well, we appreciate your time as always, and we hope you have a great day and a better evening. Anything else before we let you go?
No, you guys have a blessed week, the both of you. I only wish joy, happiness, and prosperity on the both of you guys because I love you so much.
Thank you, buddy. Don't go puking on any heroes, and maybe have some watermelon with lunch today. We'll talk to you next week.
And Kenny, can you put me and John in your will for a little bit of the Bitcoin that you've amassed over the years?
A little bit.
Take it easy, guys. I'll see you later.
See you, Ray.
Ray Longo Minute every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. All right, when it comes to college basketball, are you watching right now? The March Mania is upon us. And one thing is for certain, nothing is for certain. Upsets, buzzer beaters, underdogs advancing, top seeds going home early. It's all going to happen, and you can bet the unexpected every upset every day with DraftKings Sportsbook. Live betting, exclusive content, promos, propositions, parlays. DraftKings has it all. It is the ultimate college basketball destination for the month of March. We are down to the final 16 teams, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, Duke is the betting favorite to win it all. The odds are subject to change, but I might be inclined to look at the Blue Devils right now, just given how good they looked on the opening weekend. What does Maryland have for Florida after that incredible win for the Terps on Sunday? They're 7-point underdogs right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. A lot of ways for you to get in on the action. And if this is your first time, here's something special just for you, new DraftKings customers. Bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Bet the unexpected with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right. We are hoping to be joined by Daniel Cormier at some point in time, but we do have some more things I would like to get into on UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Brady, before we spin it forward to UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Erceg. Also tentatively scheduled to be joined by my brother for 5 minutes to further the dirty boxing conversation. So, Kenny, I wanted to ask you about Meatball Molly McCann. And when you're making good money as she is at this stage of her career, I think it can be very difficult to walk away. Now, it's interesting to think back to a time a couple of years ago when she and Patty Pimblett were all the rage, signing the sponsorship deals with Barstool Sports and just on cloud nine, right? Drinking Howlerhead after winning fights, and just felt like she was at the center of the sport and she was winning fights, and she did move back down to strawweight, and maybe that sort of shortened things up at the tail end of her career. But she definitely made an indelible mark, not just in that region. And I give her a lot of credit to walk away as the paydays are pretty robust, because as she said to Michael Bisping after the fact, if I can't face a short notice newcomer coming in here on a week's notice and fare better than that, then the UFC deserves better.
I thought it showed a lot of self-awareness, and I think that it's something that I can relate to. You know, I kind of retired for the same reason. You know, not in that regard of like, oh, I should have been able to beat a guy like Jose Aldo. It's more like, if my body can't do what I want to do, or if I can't perform at a high level, then I know it's time. Mine came the way of an injury, and for her, she felt like, you know, she wasn't performing the way that she wants, and she should be out of there. And I think that you got to have a lot of respect for someone who's not only saying it, but aware of it. Right. And the fact that she's aware of it is key. And, I think that she was always very entertaining. She was always very honest, as she has always demonstrated. And, it's unfortunate that she had to come to that decision. I like everything about Molly. She's a very interesting fighter and interesting athlete. And I think she's going to do great as a coach.
Absolute sweetheart. She did try to lay the foundation for an ambassadorship type role with the UFC, and I think she would just be fantastic for that. But just a real credit to the sport, and going to be interesting to watch Alexia Thainara moving forward, because she is a fighter to watch in that strawweight division where it's pretty ruthless. Congratulations also to Chris Duncan. Big win for him in the lightweight division by guillotine. He was not among the bonus winners. Those went to Thainara, Shauna Bannon, Kevin Holland, and Sean Brady. So congratulations. Pretty big night, not just at the gate for the UFC in London. All right, as we wait on Daniel Cormier, who may or may not join us today, let us bring in Jason Anik. Want to get a few thoughts on dirty boxing. You can follow this man on Instagram at Boston Anik. What's up, my man?
What up, yo? As we wait on Daniel Cormier. All right.
I'm going to text him right now.
John Jones would be here.
I'm going to text him right now. If DC just heard that, he actually won't show up. Jay, what was your interaction with John Jones like at Dirty Boxing 1, DBX1 this weekend?
I appreciate you talking with the boys. What up, Flo?
What's
What up,
happening,
Flo?
dude?
How's the back, kid? I'll get to the DBX stuff. How's
horrible.
the back?
It's
I
horrible.
know.
It feels
Well, you're
not great,
fighting through it. You're looking happy.
Yeah.
It was a great night in Miami. John Jones made me feel like $1 million, man. Big hug. I had never met him before. John, he had some really kind words about you, expressing some love. I'll keep some of that stuff private. But, you know, I've been trying to get into the broadcasting game and getting up in the octagon doing the post-fight interviews, and just John Jones supported me. Like a couple times I'm getting down. He's like, yeah, Anik. I mean, think about that, right? It's like, appreciate the love from the greatest of all time. But it was a great night, man. I think what I wonder, and we can get into dirty boxing, but what I wonder is any of these promotions, whether it's Professional Grappling Federation that I've been involved with, how do you sort of break through? Power Slap, the production of Power Slap, backed by the UFC production, is a well-oiled machine already. Flo, I wonder how some of these other promotions can break through, you know?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough thing. Also, there's so much you don't know when you're getting into there for the first time, you know, so you're kind of learning as you go. There's only so much you could prepare for when you're putting on a big event like that. Yeah.
Well, John, I don't know if DC's coming, but yeah, go ahead.
In terms of rule set, I think that's a big part of it, right? Trying to find a rule set that will appeal to people, because I was watching Dirty Boxing from my hotel room, trying to figure out a time to go over there. And then I went over there and it's packed to the nines. It's festive, right? It had a Miami feel. I didn't love the DJ playing during your post-fight interviews, so they got to figure that out for the second show. But the rule set really, I think, lends itself to some exciting results, and they did get some of those. But Jay, one thing we were talking about before you came on, I'm not sure if you heard us, but bouts of consequence, right? Because say what you want about Power Slap, right? And I think most athletic commissions maybe would have a hard time wrapping their head around it, right? But they got me excited about a rematch between the Crazy Hawaiian and Dumpling, or a fight between Austin Turpin and Wolverine, right? And I am a surface Power Slap fan, and yet I just dropped 2 matchups on you. So I was excited to see Yoel Romero, not necessarily against a guy like Russ.
I hear you. I think the bouts of consequence will come if they are successful. I think Platinum Mike Perry, he is one of the owners. I think he will absolutely be fighting at some point, but they're executing very well in terms of DBX1. Like, this was the first show. It's backed by First Round Management, the Kawa brothers, Abe and Malky Kawa, their cousin Primo. His name's also Malky. They call him Primo, which is for cousin, you know, because they got a couple of Malkys, but it was really enjoyable working with them. And I think I've worked for APFC, Anthony Pettis, and I think for a lot of other these promotions, right? You got to get one under your belt. If they move on to DBX2, which I expect maybe in a couple months, I think the execution won't even compare. But I thought there were some really nice visuals on YouTube, and everybody talks about the rule set. It is the perfect rule set. You know, dirty boxing, elbows allowed. They had a pilot event back in November, and there were far less elbows utilized back then than there were couple nights ago, right? There were a lot of elbows in Miami, a lot of cut. There were some knockouts, but there were also some great fights. 3-3-minute rounds, and they kept it moving. No downtime, not cutting to DC Joe, you know, just sitting there with John, just bullshitting. None of that. You know, it moved. It was quick. And I hope to be a part of DBX2, because I think it will be far better. But I think it moves the needle.
Well, it certainly moved along fight to fight, to your point, right? Just one into the next. So I think there was a lot there. I want to get your thoughts as Bilal Muhammad's dear friend, if not best friend. You felt like Sean Brady was going to go in there, Jay, and steamroll Leon Edwards, and that's exactly what happened. As you spin it forward now, not just thinking about Sean and Bilal engaging for a second time, but how impressed were you with Sean, and what would you do with him now moving forward?
Super impressed with Sean Brady, and I think the Shavkat Rakhmonov injury has made the division kind of funky. You know, and when you talk about Leon Edwards, right, the Jack Della Maddalena matchup, we talked about that last week. Some of the criticism of Leon Edwards, I'm not sure you would have seen some of that not wanting to be there at all against a guy like Jack Della Maddalena. I think this matchup, I don't think that Leon liked this matchup, but he took it. And, you know, it's pretty tough. You lose to Bilal in Manchester, then Sean Brady in London, no matter how much you've accomplished. Pretty tough to fight in England twice and lose. This one, I guess, had a better time. There's the champ.
Yo, What's up, boys?
Now joining
Hey.
us live, and we appreciate 5
Very
minutes. I had to talk to you in some sort of public setting after what happened a few days ago. Happy belated birthday. We're now joined by the UFC Hall of Famer, Daniel Cormier. Bro, I honestly think, forget that is not the cloth from which he is cut. What you and your broadcast partner did over the weekend to sort of cap this win at the NCAA Wrestling Championships, I think it might have been the greatest call in combat sports history.
Oh, you're crazy, dude. We've had that. It was awesome, but we've had some great times out there. But I got to tell you, J.A., it was easily the greatest wrestling environment I've ever been in. I've never felt.
Wow.
I told Jordan Burroughs, I go, Jordan, I didn't win the Olympics, so I don't know what the energy felt like. But that, dude, you couldn't have scripted it better in a movie because I just hold Gable in such high regard. It was crazy.
Just hearing you react in the final 30 seconds as the tide started to turn, and then your call. I mean, there were a million things I could have extracted from your call, but you said Wyatt Hendrickson just beat Gable Stevenson. And that's honestly sometimes all you need, just the result itself. So, I mean, I understand people are calling this the biggest upset at NCAA wrestling history in some pockets. I don't know if it was from a betting standpoint or not, but how can you put this in context for the non-wrestling fan?
John, yeah, even when you say it now, it's just still like Wyatt Hendrickson just actually he beat Gable Stevenson. Bro, like, I don't know. I never thought it's the crazy. It's been 2 days, and I'm still like, when I think about that, it's nuts. But okay, let me try to explain to you. So you remember when Khabib beat on Michael Johnson? How bad he beat him, and it just looked like there was nothing Michael Johnson would do to be able to beat Khabib. He's telling him, brother, you have to tap. I earned this title shot. I deserve it. Yo, Gable Stevenson teched Wyatt Hendrickson in the second period the last time they wrestled. Less than 5 minutes, he beat him by 15 points. So essentially, he was Michael Johnson getting beat up by Khabib and then came back and beat that guy. That's how crazy it was. Gable Stevenson is the Olympic champ. Gable Stevenson went to the WWE. Gable Stevenson played NFL practice squad football. He did everything, and he's the best. And it's like, Wyatt Hendrickson beat him. Like, just believed. And then, I mean, he's a freaking Air Force captain. The president's there. He's like saluting him. It was crazy. So when he got his leg, and Jordan goes, "Oh, he got his leg this time," because nobody ever touches Gable's legs. That's how good he is. They don't even touch his legs. So when he got his legs, Jordan goes, "He got his leg this time," and then Gable started to sprawl. I was like, "Yeah, but Gable's sliding out the position. He'll be fine." And then heavyweights. Hey, when you get a heavyweight off balance, they're done. Don't matter if you Gable Stevenson, Brock Lesnar. So when that dude hit the corner, like he hit like a corner where he got to the side, and Gable kind of shifted his weight. Yo, when you weigh 265 pounds and your weight shifts, you're falling down, dog. And so when he fell, I was like, oh my God, he took him down. And then when Gable got up with you saw him take notice, like 13 seconds left, he starts to build up. He looks at the clock, and then he reaches back, and when he fell again, I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe what I'm watching. It was the most insane moment. I was getting back in the airport, and I stopped at the bathroom to wait for the kids, and people were coming up to me talking about a wrestling match. That's how big that was on Saturday.
And that must have been pretty cool. A small little school out of Oklahoma State. The Cowboys, man. Do you know anything about that? Were you excited about that?
Dude, Coach Taylor is doing a tremendous job. Like, first year, got a team trophy, 2 national champions. Dude, Wyatt Hendrickson beat 2 national champs to become the national champ. He beat the last year's champ, Greg Kirkvliet. Then he beat Gable after him. Dean Hamidi, our other national champion, beat the kid from Penn State who was undefeated in the semis, then beat Keegan O'Toole, who's a 2-time NCAA champ in his own regard, to become a national champ. So, yeah, that was cool. I felt bad for Gable because we all, love, and Gable tried to give him a show. Did you watch? Like, you saw when he walked out, he came out to Biggie. He's, like, turning around, like, making it theatrical. It felt like a main event. It felt big. Yeah. And a part of that was because Gable. And then Wyatt walks out with the flag. I was
Yeah.
like, yo, this is the craziest thing. Like, I'm telling you, I like calling fights, John. We have the best job in the world. But this stuff, to
It's your
me,
first
is
love,
like,
man.
I love that shit, man. It's crazy, bro.
You know, it's a
What do
different
you- oh, sorry, go ahead.
circumstance. No, I just want to say a different circumstance. But DC, when after Sphere, you were like, that was the best night of my life. And your energy feels similar to that, even though it's a totally different experience.
Yeah, yeah, that was that. I couldn't believe it, bro. Like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't go to bed. I was up all night. I was like, I can't even sleep. I'm so jazzed about what I just watched. I was like, I cannot believe what I just watched. It truly was crazy to me.
DC, it seems like the wrestling world has like been reinvigorated. I guess over the last few years, it seems like it's only grown to be bigger and better and more exciting. What do you attribute that to? Is it mixed martial arts taking off? Is it them understanding how to promote it? Is it this grassroots that's kind of building up from the kids on the way up? Like, what do you attribute that to?
Well, the wrestling's better, but it's also the idea that wrestling now seems more open to trying to change. Because before, we as a sport were so stuck in our ways that we were stuck in like the 60s and 70s. You start at 125, you go all the way up to heavyweight. Last weekend, they said, hey, we're going to start at 185, where Carter Starachi's trying to become a 5-time national champion, and then we're going to end with the heavyweights. So trying to make it to where, like, you know, at the UFC, we always start with a big fight on the pay-per-view.
Right.
Yeah.
Make sure you do something big to rope people in, and hopefully they stay. So it's like the ability to change with the times is helping.
Yeah.
Having a guy like me call the fights, who's not necessarily just in there giving you the X and the O's. I'm in there having fun, making it fun. Dude, Lucas Bird, the 133-pound champ, has a 6'3" girlfriend. I said, look at him. He's going to hug his girlfriend. She's 6'3". Yo, she picked him up. Like, I'm just out here having a kitty. He's 5'4". She picked him up. I was like, dude, but it's like those types of things.
Put him on her shoulder. Yeah.
Bro, they
That's
call him the
great,
short king now. Now, everywhere you look, they got Lucas Bird with his girlfriend. He's the short king number one. Bro, we just got to try to, we got to try as a sport to keep evolving, keep getting better. But it is the UFC, and it is fighting, because all combat sports have grown. Look at jiu-jitsu now. Bro, I watched the Jiu-Jitsu World Championships. It was amazing seeing the amount of people that were there watching. Everything has grown because of mixed martial arts and how big the sport's gotten.
Daniel Cormier with us for a couple more minutes here on the Anik Florian Podcast. And I know you are a man of humility, but your role in all of this can't be overstated. As I wished you a happy birthday a couple of days ago, the sport of wrestling couldn't possibly have a better ambassador than you. And the same can be said for mixed martial arts. So your role in this is certainly not lost on me. Wrestling, though, is more entertaining for me than grappling on the whole.
Yeah.
College wrestling, to me, is more consistently entertaining than the UFC Fight Pass Invitational, with all due respect.
I got to be honest. Yeah, I didn't like the Fight Pass Invitational the first time, but the last time I went, they had more submissions and it was better. The first time, it was a lot of decisions, and if you're not really into decisions, it's not great, but it was better last time. Also, the NCAA tournament. We had big moments, so people remember those moments. In the middle, it wasn't great. The 125-pound match was slow. The 133-pound match was slow. 49, it felt like the wrong guy won. Sure, the guy won, but the other guy was the attacking guy. But because the other guy played the rules better, he won. 157 wasn't great. But the best thing about that is, because I could feel new fans, because my Twitter kept telling me people were watching. They would, in between, I would check. And I wanted to say to them, to the athlete, for when they go back and hear it, we have this new fan. We got to be doing more. We got to be scoring points. Because when it's 0-0 first period every time, and it's 1-1 at the end of the third period, and you go into overtime, for the diehard wrestling fan, that's great. But for the new fan, they want to see action. They want to see what they saw with guys like Mitchell Messenbrink and at 141 with Jesse Mendez. And they want to see scores. And I felt it was important to get that message across so that when these athletes go back and watch it, they know they are getting new fans. It's not the same people that have always followed. There was a lot of complaining about the order of the bouts last weekend. When it was announced, they were like, the old heads were like, ESPN's messing up putting history first and Gable last. And we tried to explain to them that to the general fan, Gable Stevenson's a bigger deal than Carter Starachi. You guys probably know Carter only because you're in combat sports. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know Carter Starachi. Gable's the bigger deal, but you want to book in those guys. Secondly, those people, John, they're going to complain and watch regardless because they love it. The general sports fan may tune in and go, well, they're making history to start. Let's stick around to watch the big man at the end, the guy that we know. Right? So all those people in between get an opportunity to perform in front of a whole new fan base.
Yeah.
When you do that, you got to be scoring points. You got to be more active. And we got to be just putting it out there. But I thought overall it went well. We had 5 good matches, and we had like 5 that were just okay.
All right, I know we're going to see you on the sticks again in Mexico City this weekend. I'll get you out of here in 30 seconds, but I have to ask journalistically, wrestling maintenance, right, in terms of Gable Stevenson, Buffalo Bills, WWE, right? Or is anybody in the wrestling community suggestive that maybe he bit off more than he can chew, and this result in any way, shape, or form speaks to that?
John, Gable Stevenson won the Olympics in 2021. When he came back to college wrestling in 2022, he steamrolled everybody. He was never challenged. It has been 4 years since he did anything hard in wrestling. Where when it gets tough in wrestling, John, it feels like somebody grab you by the neck. It's like they start choking you. But the more you're in that, you're getting choked and you work through it, you build a bit of like callous to it. He hasn't been callous to that. He's been doing pro wrestling. So it's been a while. But I will give you this, and this is no excuse. And before I go, I know I don't have much time. Before I go, Gable Stevenson, the way that he handled that was as beautiful as anything. And for fans and kids that are watching, recognize what a champion looks like. He got up on the stand. He clapped for Wyatt. He tapped him on the back. He waited. When Wyatt did all the dancing and he prayed and he celebrated, Gable stood in the middle of the ring with his hand out, waiting for that man to shake his hand. He told his coach, "My bad, coach." And that tells me that if he decides to get wrestling again, they could wrestle 9 more times. And I don't know if Wyatt Hendrickson ever wins one, but you got to win the big one.
Yeah.
He did. Yes, it was hard. It's hard to get put in that situation after not being in it for so long and get through it. We just all thought because of who he is, he would be able to manage it. But I mean, dude, that first scramble in the first period, it looked like the big man was tired. It looked like the big man got tired, and it was an unfamiliar situation for him. But I have all faith that Gable Stevenson will be okay. And I hope he goes to fighting.
Well, congrats on a huge weekend, my man. I know this month of March for you is always crazy annually, but particularly so this year. The Ultimate Fighter is wrapped, wrestling championships, and now Mexico City. So we appreciate you very much.
Thank you, boys. John, I'll see you in Mexico City. Jason, congratulations on last weekend, my friend. And Flo,
Thank you, brother.
Always love seeing you, my brother.
Good to see you,
Talk
buddy.
To you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, champ. There he is. Daniel Cormier, gracious enough to give us a few minutes after a monumental weekend for the sport of amateur wrestling. Wyatt Hendrickson over Gable Stevenson. Absolutely incredible. Keep wanting to put that fucking N in there. So, all right, we got to spin it forward, Jay. Jay, I don't know if you have anything else for us, but I think I'm inclined to let you go as well.
Let me go.
We need
Peace,
to get
love.
to Mexico City. You're the man.
Later.
Congratulations.
See you, Jay.
DBX1
See you,
is in
boys.
the can. Did a fantastic job with the post-fight interviews and everything else. All right, I believe we have Big Gun Brian Petrie ready to go in the back room as we spin it forward to all things UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Erceg. Big Gun, nice to see you, buddy. Good Monday.
Good Monday, boys. What's going on?
A lot is going on, buddy. A lot is going on. I got 3 pronunciation files this week, but I'm only going to bring one to you in the pronunciation of the week. It's a Brazilian fighter. He has the word quiz in the middle of his first name. He fights C-Rod Christian Rodriguez in a featherweight prelim coming up this Saturday in Mexico City, Mexico. BP, who are we talking about, kid? Last name, I think, is Costa.
Yeah. So the first name's going to be, it's a rough one for me. I can't get this one. Melo Quizel Costa is what I got. Kenny, don't you fucking laugh, bro.
I was actually thinking that as Ken Flo sits here laughing comedically at the pronunciation of the week, that we would give him this exercise.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Maybe
okay.
make him start to do the pronunciation of the week
Ken.
beginning
Why
next
not?
week, Bri, and we'll
Why
just
not?
bring you on and you can smile and laugh at him. So, all right,
Love
next
it.
week, Ken Flo is going to do the pronunciation of the week, perhaps heretofore. All right, so this guy, Kenny, I don't know if you want to give it a go. It's shown on screen right now.
Yeah. So, so it's Costa, obviously that's
Yeah.
the easy part. It usually you go short for Melky, but it's Melchizael.
Yeah, Melchizael, right? He has brothers Melchizedek and Melchizaki. So Melchizael, Melchizedeki, and Melchizaki. So let's hear Mr. Costa pronounce his own name.
Melchizael Melk Costa. Tá.
Melchizael.
Melchizael Melk Costa.
Michael.
All right, and then I also have two files that we will get to later when we get to those competing athletes this weekend. But let us begin the main event challenge with one prelim bout in the flyweight division. Edgar Chairez, minus 310, taking on CJ Vergara, who is plus 250. Chairez on the wrong end of a unanimous decision, lost to Joshua Van in his last appearance. That came at Noche UFC at Sphere last September. Now the 29-year-old out of Mexicali, Baja California, Mexico, is back. He's a 3-1 favorite here against CJ Vergara. So Vergara Bry dropped back to 3-4 in the UFC now. Back-to-back losses to Asu Almabayev and Ramazan Tamirov. What do we think about Chairez 3-1 here this weekend against Vergara, BP?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate the 3-1 on Chairez. I mean, Chairez is a dog, right? He's a dog. He goes in there and he fights for your dollar for sure. The fight with Van was great. I mean, he was taking shots after shots. The guy's got a chin. I can see why he's the favorite. 3-1's a little high to me. CJ Vergara is a guy that likes to hit and move. He's a pop shotter. He's got some good footwork. He's also a guy with some big heart. He got rattled and rocked and basically ran away a few fights ago to survive and then came back and won that fight. And he's coming off a knockout loss, which he's got a pretty good solid chin on him. Submission defense, was questioned, I think, in the past. Chairez obviously is really good off his back as well. He's got a good triangle choke off his back. But this is interesting because Vergara really struggles with guys who are good to go for takedowns. I think Chairez takedowns are okay, but he's really going to stand and strike. He's got the long range. But again, you're hanging that number on me, minus 310. I think it's disgusting. Can't get there. So I'm going to go Vergara. I'm going to go dog here. Why not? I think it's going to be a decision. I think Vergara's going to win. Don't know if I'm going to put my money on it here. Definitely maybe outside of here. I'll put a couple shekels on it. But give me CJ Vergara.
Hey, by the way, sorry we had to cancel the watch party, right?
Yeah, no boys.
I went down to DBX1 to support Jay, and I wasn't sure how the Wi-Fi was going to be in the hotel room. And, my guy Ken Flo did have a conflict, a very serious conflict on the back end of things. And as it turned out, we would not have had Ken Flo for the entire main event. He would have left us during round 1 of Carlos Ulberg versus Jan Blachowicz. So we run it back April 5th, but I want to publicly apologize to you, Bri. Flyweight's Ken Flo. Vergara, San Antonio, Texas. Pretty active since his 2021 UFC debut. He did go 0 for 2024, though. How do you think his 2025 opener here goes against Chairez?
I think this is going to be a barn burner. Both these guys are extremely game, as Brian talked about. I think that Vergara is a little bit more stiff on the feet. Obviously very, very durable, as is Chairez. Chairez is a little bit more versatile, a little bit more fluid with his striking, I think. Maybe doesn't have the same amount of power, though, as Vergara. So going to be an interesting one. I'm leaning the way of Chairez. I don't know about the odds, whether I'm going to put some money on that or not. But I do think if he's able to, stick and move, I think Chairez wins this.
I thought Chairez would be minus 180, and he is minus 310.
Yeah.
Certainly deserves the distinction as the betting favorite. All right, main card. We are still awaiting a second draft of the fight card. But as of this taping, this is the main card opener in the flyweight division. Ronaldo Rodriguez, minus 148. I can't even say his name without thinking of a smiling fighter, which just speaks to, his qualities outside the octagon. Here he fights Kevin Borjas, the Peruvian, who comes back plus 124. We'll see if Ken Flo's Peruvian bias intervenes in the conversation. So Lazy Boy Rodriguez, Bry, really a star-turning performance in a lot of respects at Sphere last year, UFC 306/Noche UFC. Dominates Ode Osborne. A lot of flash to the personality. Big spot for him here against the wicked game, Kevin Borjas. BP, your thoughts?
Yeah, he came on my radar in Sphere. I mean, listen, all these people getting their teeth fixed, getting the big old pearly white. This guy, don't do it. Your smile's your moneymaker here. I love this guy's personality. I love everything about him. And he got rocked bad by Ode Osborne. Again, another thing where he had to come back, use his grappling, and really willed at the victory, which was very impressive for a young fighter making his, really kind of a huge stage at the Noche. I like him here. I think his jiu-jitsu, and again, I want to get Kenny's opinion on this. I think his jiu-jitsu is just a little bit sloppy for me to really think he's a killer on the mat, right? He's minus 148, which I think is real, which is a good number, excuse me. And then Borjas, this dude's nails. Like most Peruvian fighters, headhunter, powerful, goes in there, works top to bottom, and he wants to get you out of there. I think his big weakness maybe is his defense, but I think Rodriguez is going to want to get this fight to the ground. I think he'll have an advantage on the ground. Don't know if a finish is going to come. Give me the chalk favorite, Rodriguez. I'm glad it's a low number. I don't know if I'm going to get to a prop pull or not, but give me Rodriguez.
Rodriguez 25, Kenny. Borjas is 27. Borjas, though, despite being the older fighter, doesn't have nearly as much pro experience. The Peruvian 0-2 across his first 2 UFC starts. We'll see the extent to which he can get on track this weekend.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate about Borjas because he certainly has potential. He's got skill. He has physical abilities that make him very, very dangerous out there. Ronaldo Rodriguez really impressed me in his last fight. I think that, him getting hurt out there like that and coming back and getting the win, I think just showed how damn game he is. And that's going to be a lot for Borjas to deal with, I think. I think Ronaldo is a little bit, he's a little sloppy on the ground. He's also a little sloppy on the feet as well. But he has so much power and so much durability where he can just keep on going. So I would love to put a little money on Borjas for an upset, but hard to doubt the consistency of Rodriguez.
Flyweight division is so good when you think about Kevin Borjas's UFC schedule, right? Joshua Van, Alessandro Costa, right? Diego Lopez's right-hand man, and now Ronaldo Rodriguez. Pretty tough. All right, bantamweight division, David Martinez, minus 425, taking on Saimon Oliveira, who is plus 330. So hard to find information on what the last 2 years have held for Oliveira, Bry. He's 33. He's 18-5 as a pro, 0-2 in the UFC, and has not competed since a knockout loss to Daniel Marcos at UFC 283, all the way back in January of 2023. No bout cancellations on the public record in the last 2 years. Returns here against the highly touted Mexican debutant, the 11-1 David Martinez. Brian Petrie, who do you love?
Hopefully he's just taking time to get, he coming off a knockout loss over Marcos, excuse me. Hopefully he's just taking time to get better because, he needs it. He needs to get a little better, especially defensively. And he's going against a guy who's a clean boxer. This guy landed 79 strikes in his contender series, and all were just really clean strikes. A lot of times guys who are really clean hands and pristine boxing, they don't really let it go a little bit. I felt like he held back a little bit of the contenders. He's fighting a tough guy in Xavier Franklin, but I feel like there could have just been a little bit more from him, and I think we're going to get it here. It's a huge number. I get the googly eyes from the new guys. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to slow it a little bit. 425, I'm not going to get there, but I'm going to get there by KO. We'll see what that prop is later this week. I think he can put out Oliveira probably early. Maybe we'll double dip in the not only by knockout round 1. So give me Martinez.
Martinez minus 425. He is 26, earned his UFC contract on season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. Represents the Bone Breakers in Mexico City. Cool. Figures to get a deafening response at home. He's a huge favorite here to get the job done against Oliveira. Kenny, who comes back plus 330 or so. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard to know what Oliveira we're going to see in there. I think with Martinez, though, I think Brian's right. I think this is a guy who has some nasty hands when he's throwing them, when he's, putting together those combinations. And I think that's exactly what he needs to do here in this fight. Keep it on the feet, get on the inside and land those nasty shots. So I like Martinez here.
Next up in the bantamweight division, Chihuihuis. Raul Rosas Jr. minus 355, Vince Morales plus 280. So Rosas Jr., I don't know if he's on the cusp of the top 15 just yet. Tapology has him as the number 38 ranked bantamweight in the world. That's across all promotions. Bri, he's still the youngest fighter on the roster.
Crazy.
He won't be 21 until October, despite 5 UFC starts already. He's won 3 in a row. Granted, the competition has not been potent per se, but he's taking care of business as the challenges do get stiffer. What do we think, Bri? El Nino Problema, 6th UFC appearance against Vince Morales.
Listen, I root for two EVs. I root for Rojas Jr. The one thing I've been seeing a lot of them, the guy's got a girlfriend now, right? You know what I mean? The guy's got a girlfriend now. And the guy's not the easiest on the eyes, right? So I'm pretty sure he lost that V card now. So hopefully he's not putting that in front of his training. I'm just trying to get into have a fighter. You know what I mean? Because I know when I lost my virginity, guess what? Everything else didn't matter anymore, right? You know what I mean? But he's super talented. But he went out there against Alichi Long. And I felt like there was some finish abilities there, and he didn't get him out. And he kind of said, "Hey, I've been sick." It was the first fight kicking off Noche. Maybe there's some nerves there. The kid is still very young, but he's very, very talented when it comes to the grappling. His hands are getting better as well. He's landing some good strikes on the feet. But Vince Morales is a guy who's been cut from the UFC. He's coming back. Doesn't have really a lot of wins in the UFC, but he has a lot of experience. I know he trained the alpha male forever, so he's going to be kind of hard to get that neck on him. I just really want to see Rojas Jr. come out here and make a stamp and go, you know what? I'm minus 355 for a fucking reason, boys. Yes, I'm 20. I'm getting there. And maybe talk some of that shit a little bit. But I like him in this spot, but I can see this being kind of a trap spot as well. I advise the listeners maybe not throw this in your parlays, not load up in their parlay plays. It's not going to be an anchor for your parlay. I think this can get a little greasy towards the end here, but we'll see. But I like Rojas Jr.
Little Ken Flo smirk there. Let me give you a little background on Vince Morales, if I could. Well-traveled, 34 years of age, bit of a journeyman, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
In and out of the UFC, he is 0-2 during this second UFC stint. He has lost his last 4 overall in the octagon, but the high-level experience can't be ignored. UFC debut in 2018 against Song Yadong. He defeated Amin Zahabi in 2019, faced Chris Gutierrez, Jonathan Martinez. Even if the recent results, Kenny, don't give Morales confidence, you got to think the experience level does. What do you think he has for Raul Rosas Jr.?
I think Raul Rosas is, although he's like a budding star for sure, I do think he's a developing fighter, and that's why we're seeing this fight here against Vince Morales. And so in that regard, I think it's a good way for Rosas to get more experience. Morales could be a spoiler here, and I see what Brian's talking about just because he's got that wrestling background as well. And Rosas is, he's good on the ground. He's got some good attacks, but he's still not like a world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's not a world-class on the feet either. So Morales, if he's able to keep this on the feet, he keeps this close. It could be a very, very close fight. I like Rosas here, but Morales could make things interesting. So I'm with Brian on that thinking.
Good main card in Mexico City as we move to a featured bout in the middleweight division. Joe Body Bags Pyfer, minus 395, taking on Kelvin Gastelum, and we will get you this audio file. Kelvin Gastelum, plus 310. So when I showed up at the UFC in 2011, a pronunciation guide ceased to exist. Now, as to why Kenny and I, when we called Kelvin Gastelum's UFC debut on The Ultimate Fighter, why we referred to him as Gastelum and not Gastelum, I really don't know. I can tell you the history of Adesanya versus Adesanya. I don't remember why we went Gastelum other than the fact that it sounds fucking cool to punch the gas on the front end. But as you will hear here, he does say, Kenny, with that, Spanish pronunciation, Kelvin Gastelum.
Gastelum, Kelvin Gastelum.
Anyway, Kelvin Gastelum's plus 310 this weekend. Now, Pyfer, Kenny, was minus 550 when I sent you guys the lines on Saturday. Now he is minus 395. What do you make of this one at 85, Kenny? We'll start with you.
Very interesting to see the odds swing like that. I hope it's not because of some inside information on an injury or something like that, but I think Kelvin obviously has a ton of experience. I think we've seen a little bit of inconsistency now as we get later into his career. He's still very, very tough, loves to move forward. I think he's going to need his wrestling here in this one. Can he use that wrestling to take someone down like Pyfer, though, who is a really big middleweight? I'm not so sure. Pyfer, very powerful guy. And I think he's going to be the more dangerous striker as well. I just think that Pyfer sometimes, with the lack of experience, sometimes doesn't make the best decisions. Sometimes can get flustered out there. And Gastelum will not get flustered. Like, he's proven that with all of his experience, he's going to keep coming at you, and he's seen pretty much everything you can experience inside the octagon. So I think Gastelum could be a very interesting underdog bet. I'm going to go with Pyfer here just because, younger, more dangerous guy. I think Pyfer should be able to get it done, but he's got to lessen the complications here. He's got to be good about his wrestling takedowns. He's got to establish that range and not force anything out there.
Pyfer physically is a monster. It stands to reason this is going to look like a light heavyweight fighting a welterweight. Gastelum, of course, will be at the UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony this summer. He's still only 33 as he makes his 24th UFC appearance. Got a much-needed win, Bri, as you know, over D-Rod in Saudi Arabia last June, but that whole situation just left a bad taste in the mouths of a lot of people. Contracted for welterweight. It ends up being at middleweight. Wasn't fair to D-Rod. Gastelum gets a hugely needed win, spins it forward against Joe Pyfer this weekend. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the Gastelum weight thing is it's always, I follow him on social media. I see the posts. Like, I'm committed to 170. Did the 170 with Sean Brady. Supposed to be 170 with Rodriguez. Didn't make it happen. Now we're 85 again. So I guess 70's on the back burner. Listen, the guy can fight. The guy can fight no matter what weight class you're in. What's crazy, we were talking about Joe Pyfer's size. That dude used to fight at 170, which I don't know how the fuck he did that. The guy's massive, right? I like Joe Pyfer, and I like how Joe Pyfer rebounded after the Hermanson, because that is a frustrating loss. That was a big step up in competition.
Yeah.
You're 5 rounds against a guy who has really good footwork, who frustrates you. He frustrated my guy, Chris Curtis. That's what Hermanson does. And Pyfer, was getting some shit online because he's such a big favorite, but rebounded well with a nice knockout, right? Hopefully he goes into this learning his lesson. Like, you're not going to be able to steamroll everybody. And Kevin Gastelum, I think, regardless of weight class he's in, has a dynamite chin anywhere. The guy can take a shot. So Pyfer's got to go in there knowing, I might need to land close to 100 strikes in this fucking guy, be ready for 3 rounds. And I think that Philly Jimmy's in's popping after the Sean Brady win. I think everything is going up their way here. I see a really good performance by Joe Pyfer. I don't think it's going to be a knockout. I really don't think he's going to be able to finish Calvin. He's going to stop the takedowns, and let's see how that cardio holds up. Minus 395 scares me a little bit. This would be something that I see a lot of parlays happening here. And you're right, the line is moving, which is interesting. Morgan Charrier last week, when we picked him on the show on Monday, he was minus 170. He closed at minus 112. So a lot of movement on that. We all know he lost that fight. So interesting. We'll keep a look on that. Keep an eye on that line. But right now it's going to be body bag Joe Pyfer.
And that minus 550 to minus 395 could very well be, because a lot of people are just tying Pyfer into every parlay with their NCAA games and everything else. So we'll see how it goes for Pyfer. But a lot of developmental time for him since that win over Marc-Andre Barriault. That was last summer at UFC 303. And I like the Philadelphia connection that you made as well there, Brian. All right, lightweight co-main event. And you guys want to hear how cool Manuel Torres sounds saying his own name? He fights Drew Dober this weekend, but let us rack for you El Loco. Is that his nickname? Let's get to Manuel Torres here.
Manuel El Loco Torres.
Oh!
Manuel El Loco Torres.
Golly.
That little raspy voice.
He talks like he fights, right?
Man.
Co-main event. Manuel Torres, minus 122. Drew Dober, plus 102. All right, Bri, 25th UFC start for the now 36-year-old Drew Dober. He's lost 2 in a row, 3 of his last 4. Jean Lord Silva, the last man to get him, a TKO last July. On the other side, Torres emphatically stopped by our guy, Ignacio Bahamondes at Sphere. Torres should be fired up to get on track here, BP. What do you think in terms of the co-main event?
Man, I'm still stunned on Torres' voice. I used to say, I've done pretty well when it comes to the ladies in my life, but more well than I should. And I used to say if my name was Tyson, I'd have double the numbers. If my voice was Torres, I'd have triple the numbers. Golly.
Wait a second. Yeah. So in terms of your relative success rate with the ladies in your life, you just brought that up. So can I follow up on that?
100%.
So is it judged on numbers? Because you sort of intimated that
numbers,
it's just a numbers game. It's quantity over quality, right?
Some of the quality in the early 20s weren't there.
Right.
No offense, ladies. All consensual. But no, we're talking numbies. I did some numbies in my 20s for sure. And if you want to throw out a guess, I'll tell you the number.
No, I don't need the number. I don't know if Erica Petrie, your wife, wants the number. I mean, is this
She knows
the type of thing that gets discussed on the MMA Takes podcast. She doesn't.
100%. Yeah, I brought this up because, like I said, I think if my name was Tyson and not just lame Brian, because I love the name Tyson, I'd be like, I'd have double. Like, imagine introducing yourself to a girl. I am Tyson Petrie. That's way better than Brian,
I'd be
right?
like, this is my buddy TP. Fucking
Yeah, right. Oh, hey, Tyson, what's up? And then if I sounded like Torres, fucking forget it, dude. What the hell?
No,
But
Tyson
your
goes
wife
hard, dude.
doesn't. I mean, you have a marriage of veracity, right? Your wife doesn't bat an eye when you talk about your numbers on public.
No,
airwaves.
not at all. She knows because we lay out the roster because when we first got together, we were going to a lot of parties with my friends, engagements and whatnot, and I had to go, hey, listen, there might be someone here that your old future husband maybe was intimate with. So I want to give it a lay of the land, and then she's done the same for me when we went to like her cousin's house. She's like, hey, you see that guy over there? Yeah, him and I hooked up before. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, at least let me know,
All
right? Yeah.
Man, little did I know Petrie is a fucking whore.
What do you set the over under on, John?
I would rather get Ken Flo's pick on the co-main.
Okay, here's my pick in the co-main. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Listen, I read last week like a book. I feel like the main event last week like a book. I feel like Drew Dober has topped what he's going to do in the UFC. I think fun fights are ahead of him. I don't think a title shot's ahead of him. I don't think top five's ahead of him. I think he's a fun fighter. I think he's a grinder, but I think his skills and everything has plateaued. I think he's going to be where he's at. Manuel Torres is an absolute butcher in there. Yeah, he stumbled against Ignacio Bahamondes, but I really think that he is nasty in there. The one thing that holds me up just a little bit is a lot of his finishes come in round one. What does round two, what does round three look like? That obviously scares me against a guy like Drew Dober who can take it in round one. We've seen it against Terrence McKinney. We've seen it against Bobby Green. We've seen it against Alves. We've seen this guy take shots. But, I go back to the Favola fight, which is more recent. Favola got him out of round one, and Torres is an absolute butcher. So I'm going Torres. I'm going maybe heavy on Torres as well. I like this spot a lot.
Kenny Torres 15-3 with 14 first-round finishes. Dober has 20 MMA finishes, 10 of those in round one. Easy to see why this has been installed as the co-main event. What do you make of the 55ers?
Yeah, well, for Drew Dober, I think that he does have a path to victory, and it really comes the way of executing on his takedowns, putting Torres on his back. Now, Torres is no slouch on the ground either, but I think that's going to be his easiest path to victory. With that control, I think he has enough jiu-jitsu skills to avoid some of those submission skills with Torres on his back. So the problem is that Drew Dober is gonna Drew Dober. He can't help himself. He loves to get in a scrap, and if he does that against someone like Torres, I think Torres could sleep him. And Dober might be able to surprise Torres as well. He's got some power, but I think at this stage of the game, with both those guys where they're at this point of their careers, I think that Torres is going to be the more dangerous guy on the feet. I think he's hard to get a read and a beat on. So who am I going to go with? I don't know, man. So what song is this from, John? Acting kind of loco. I'm just another local kid getting paid for my vocal.
I don't know.
You can't understand how I can just kill
a man.
I'm going with the loco, Manuel Torres.
Yeah. Kenny El Loco.
Little sing song. Love it.
Good nickname. All right, flyweight main event. Brandon Moreno -198. Steve Erceg +164. So Moreno's last fight, a 5-round unanimous decision win over Amir Albazi. That was last November in a main event in Edmonton. That was the 9th straight main event or 5-round fight for the Assassin Baby. 10th straight here. On the other side, we have Steve Erceg, Bry. He's gone from nearly wresting the belt away from Alexandre Pantoja to the precipice of a 3rd straight loss here if he does lose. Who do we like, BP, in the headliner in Mexico City?
Yeah, so I, full disclosure, I got Moreno. I was actually like a full real pro capper. I got Moreno early. He opened at -112 or -115. Can't remember what I got him on DraftKings, but I got him early. And that's who I'm still rocking with. I'm rocking with Moreno. I just think this guy, who he's fought, what his skills are is going to be too much for Erceg. I like Steve Erceg. I thought he did really well against Pantoja. Every time I rewatch that fight, I have a different winner, right? It's just that close. And Pantoja, legit dude. He's obviously got Brandon Moreno's number here, but Brandon Moreno, focused and aggressive, might be a problem with Erceg. I think Erceg's going to come out maybe a little tentative. He's kind of an aggressive guy, but he got slept by Kai Kara France last time. I think he's going to come out a little bit tentative, and I think that's going to play in the hands of Brandon Moreno. I think if it hits the ground, I think both guys can scramble really well, so I think that might cancel each other out. I think Brandon Moreno might have the better wrestling. But the scrambles should be really fun. It should be a high-paced fight. And Moreno comes out there, again, throwing those leg kicks, throwing those body kicks like he normally does, long-range hands. I like Moreno here. I like Moreno's toughness. I think his gamemanship. I think he could maybe even get a finish here.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to play that. But I like Brandon Moreno.
Ken Flo, you know Brandon Moreno well. You have trained with him in the past. He is 31. Steve Erceg is 29. We'll see the extent to which Erceg can respond from that round one knockout loss to Kai Kara-France. That was UFC 305 last August. And in terms of overall flyweight greatness, you think about names like Demetrius Johnson, of course, Alexandre Pantoja, Davison Figueiredo, and Brandon Moreno. You know, Moreno's still just 31, so maybe there is another ascent here. Your thoughts on your guy this weekend, Ken Flo, against Steve Astro Boy Erceg?
Moreno looked absolutely fantastic in his last fight against Albazi. And for Erceg, you know, obviously last couple fights, one was against Pantoja, the champion. Can't fault him on that. That was extremely close, as Brian talked about. But the one against Kai Kara-France, you wanted to see him perform a heck of a lot better than that. And he just seemed, I don't know, a little bit lackadaisical in the approach, hands down a little bit too much. Kai Kara-France came out guns blazing, caught him, surprised him. How is he going to come back from something like that? We don't know. Moreno, we do know that he can come back and come back better. He was extremely skilled against Albazi. Everything seemed to just be clicking for him. Looked fantastic. And I think he is the favorite for a reason. Erceg might surprise people out there. You know, he could come out with his length and his striking and put it all together with his jiu-jitsu and takedown skills. But the way that both of them are fighting right now, I got to imagine that Moreno is going to be even sharper than the last time out. I think that was a great way to build up his confidence and come back that much better. So give me Brandon Moreno. I like him.
All right, nicely laid out as usual. That is the main event challenge for UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Erceg. Our final act is to put the money where the mouths are. Place your bets. Presented by JohnAnik.com and KennyFlorian.com, where you can support the show with our exclusive Anik Florian Podcast and One More Sleep merchandise. Use code One More Sleep for discount at checkout. Bri, we will begin with you running hot. You put your entire $1,000 stack on Sean Brady last weekend. How are you dispersing your 1K for Mexico City?
I know we're having a little bit of a math issue right now, which I can topple that. But my total to date so far, this is an updated number, is negative $4,399.92, right? So I got to make some moves. I got Sean Brady last week. So instead of fucking around, I was going to do a Viva La Mexico parlay, 3 Mexican fighters, get the juices going. Let's go. But I need a win. I need a dub. $1,000 on Manuel Torres. All of it on Torres.
Let's go.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You know, I mean, it's sort of that whole like fuck around and find out chart, right?
Yeah.
Nicely done. $1,000. Manuel Torres minus 122 is locked in. Ken Flo, we're giving you $1,000 American dollars to dispose of properly. Who do you like?
All right, let's go with $500 on Pyfer. And we're going to split up the rest. $250 on each of these guys, Torres and Moreno.
Torres and Moreno. All right. The guys like the favorites this weekend. We'll see how it plays out. For more from Brian Petrie later this week, be sure to check out the MMA Takes podcast. Baseball season starts this week. A lot of steam for those Cincinnati Reds led by Terry Francona. We'll see how it goes, BP.
Excited, boys. All right, boys. See ya.
Thank you. There he is, Brian Petrie, with us every week on the Anik Florian Podcast. Thanks to all of you for tuning in live on YouTube today. Thanks to Daniel Cormier, Ray Longo, Jason Anik, Brian Petrie. Our producer is Cody Merrow. I am off to Mexico City Wednesday, and then we are right back with you guys on Monday, March 31st to recap everything that transpires. Don't forget to download the free-to-download John Anik app. We will have a lot of behind-the-scenes content for free coming up from Mexico City. With that, for Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. We appreciate every last one of you. We'll talk to you next Monday. Until then, yo fucking later.
I love this shit.